everybody. This is William del Pilar, and welcome to Points on the Board, episode 119, where we dive into sports drama with more grit than an NFL wideout's souped up Ferrari on a Kansas City freeway. So let's get this show rolling. What's on tap tonight? Well, we have an update to Shedeur Sanders draft slide. It turns out acting like you own the league before you're even drafted doesn't win you friends. Who knew? Actually, we all did. His slide was faster than a fumble on a wet field. Then we have Quinn Ewers, who slipped to the 7th round. Proof social media's fanboy hypocrisy is louder than a dog whistle. While the same folks howl with rage over Sanders' slide, well, guess what? They're silent as a tomb on Ewers' fall, from a once top prospect to clipboard holder in the final round. Then there's Henry Ruggs, the ultimate junkyard rebuild. He's wrenching for an NFL comeback from prison because redemption arcs now roll with more controversy than a nitro-charged street racer. Ouch. Back on the domestic front, Tyreek Hill's in the hot seat again with his wife's emergency filing and the NFL silence screaming louder than a sold-out Monday Night Football game with Morgana Roberts, a.k.a. the Kissing Bandit, jiggling on the field. Yes, I cracked myself up. Then, future Hall of Famer Rob Gronkowski's roasting a rookie for daring to touch the legendary Lawrence Taylor's legacy. Then we're going to move on to Justin Tucker's football decision release from the Ravens. It smells fishier than a massage parlor after a happy ending. Speaking of fishy, transgender athletes in women's sports are stirring the pot again from Texas to Oregon, with Nike allegedly playing mad scientists on kids. So strap on your leather helmets, people. This one's a full contact episode. Welcome back, everybody. Once again, my name is William del Pilar, and this is Points on the Board. And I love to say for my Red, White, and Rude podcast, which is a podcast on everything culture, poor sports is part of that culture. So my point is that politics is downstream of culture, and this show attacks sports stories from that perspective. Why? It's important for you to know the real reason for taking the knee, the real reason for this, for that, for all this garbage that's doing nothing but creating division. And I guess I've gotten a bit angry as a Latino whose family runs the gamut, but this nonsense has to stop. And sometimes you got to fight fire with fire. And until we as minorities, that's right, I'm Puerto Riqueño, Panameño. You know, I always tell people my grandmother was called the N-word. My mother looks like this little Asian woman. It's we just have white the black. I even have a half brother who lost his family in Nagasaki. So all this is really close to my heart. Why? Because this is the greatest country in the world. And until we minorities look in the mirror and understand it's not whitey's fault. It's vile people's fault. And those vile people right now, they tend to be progressive. And why did I go from a progressive more to a conservative and want to start all this up? Well, it's because I saw the hate versus the data. The data of like, whoa, this conservative plan is actually working. This progressive plan, we're still in the same spot we were in the 60s. And that's why I'm here today in my long-winded way. So before we get going, obviously, I need you to like and share this podcast. Please do that. I cannot exist or grow without your support, and my partner, Big John, will smack me on the head if I don't sit there and say anything. You can also bookmark grumblingsmedia.com. Grumblingsmedia.com, that is our website. And you can also find us on, which you're probably listening to us either on YouTube or Rumble, but you can also find us on Apple, Spotify, y Pandora. We're under the handle Grumblings Media. So let's get down to it, my friends, to the story that won't die. Shedeur Sanders slide to the 5th round. Obviously, that drew a lot of intense criticism, and it was twofold. There was a lot of tribalism. Let's get that out of the way. And there was a lot of attitude and professionalism with the dad who is a PR nightmare on the Sanders side. Then and nobody's talking about it. I'm not trying to make it an issue. I'm just trying to kind of show the other side and a bit of hypocrisy out there with the fanboys. And that is Quinn Ewers. He was supposed to get drafted on day 2, right about round 3, maybe round 4. He fell all the way to 7th round. You don't hear anybody screaming, racism! Or they're trying to do him an injustice. Or they just don't like him. They're trying to punish him. None of that. The NFL's about winning. Cam Newton had issues when he came out, drafted number 1 overall. Lord knows, Caleb Williams, I wouldn't have taken him number 1. But yeah, he had tons of issues. He's a mama's girl. He's a pajama boy. But he showed me a lot his first year, but that's beside the point. The point is he went number 1 because the Bears saw talent. Hey, they saw the film. I wasn't looking at that film. I'm out of the game. I was talking to people. I would talk about the issues I had with him. They would sit there and say, yeah, but they're the experts. They were right. They took him 1. When there is talent there, my friends, the player will get drafted, period, end of story. When you got the greatest PR person in your corner that we've seen in the NFL since Drew Rosenhaus was in his prime, fantasizing about being in front of the camera, you're going to have PR overcome talent. But at the end of the day, when teams see all that talent, or lack of it rather, but they see the potential PR nightmare with Deion Sanders, they're going to go, man, I don't know about this guy. Then the interview starts, and hey, so we want to talk about the playbook we gave you to look at. No, I didn't look at that, but I want to know what you're going to do for me. You don't think teams are going to go, whoa, this guy's supposed to be our quarterback, supposed to be a leader. This guy's all about himself. And that's what started coming out from the backstories. And I want to talk about that right now. Some of the new information that came out. Actually, I guess first of all, for a reminder, Sanders was selected by the Cleveland Browns with the 144th overall pick in the 5th round of this 2025 NFL draft. There's a lot of criticism. NFL owners, coaches, and analysts, they cited Sanders' arrogance and entitlement as the primary reason for his draft slide. I've seen this before. I can't name players. I've been through too many drafts, but certain players have come and gone. We're supposed to do better, ended up doing worse on the draft. And that's just how it goes. So I wanted to talk about some of the new information, though, in terms that came out after the draft, because I went to tape last Monday. It was day after the draft. And there's not new information, but it's pretty much validating what everybody was saying during the weekend. Boomer Esiason on WFAN 660. He said owners were saying, quote, I don't want that guy. I don't want this entitled person on our team. And that not only stems from Shedeur, it also extends to his dad and the nightmare his father's going to bring. Look, it's obvious Deion loves his son. It's obvious Deion is the coach you hate because you could be better than his son, but he's going to start his son over you. And that's the type of mentality Deion has with his son. He thinks his son's the best thing since sliced bread. And talent evaluators are like, I don't know about that. And that became a pervasive thought process. And I think what happened was his interview process was so bad, so arrogant, then skipping his skipping the combine, blowing people off in season during the Colorado Buffalo season. All that circulated around the league. And then when the scouts looked at the tape and go, well, boss, he's not all that. And all these ingredients came together and poof, the end result was Sanders dropping to the 5th round. NFL Network's Chris Carter. I don't know if he's with the NFL Network, but Chris Carter, all-pro Hall of Fame wide receiver who Buddy Ryan saved, and he credited Buddy. He's now in the Hall of Fame and still living large. Because of that, he's gone through some serious ups and downs, so he knows what he's talking about. He criticized Sanders for skipping the NFL draft combine, said it's a disservice. It hurt his draft stock. Exacerbated by media statements and Deion Sanders advocacy. Deion came out and said, yeah, there's teams we don't want him to go to, and we're working around that. I think part of the problem with that was him telling teams, or not him telling teams, but him not preparing for the interviews with these teams. I think that was his father telling him that. Bad advice, bad juju. And that obviously hurt his draft stock. So Carter stated, quote, he ain't running bleep, okay? Let me tell you what they taught him, a great lesson, unquote. What he's saying is he should have been humbled by this. He should have been humbled by this. And let's give credit where credit is due. The reports that came out of him sandbagging the interviews was from CBS Sports NFL reporter Jonathan Jones. Big kudos to him. Some more information that came out after the draft. Analyst Ross Tucker, I think he's with CBS. He was talking about, hey, Sanders skipped a production meeting with the network before a Colorado game against Colorado State. And it's a customary obligation. Customary for star quarterbacks. He blew it off. No, he was going to his own horn. He just wasn't a good dude. I'm not saying he's a bad kid. I'm just saying in this whole process, he showed himself to be an idiot, a bleep hole for how he carried himself. The lack of respect he gave others. Respect is earned. It's not given. And if he wants to play for these NFL teams, he wants to be featured, he wants to be highlighted, you got to play. It's a give and take. It's that simple. You see, Deion had the gravitas to back up his talk. His son doesn't. And that's the core difference that fanboys are failing to realize. They've fallen in love with Shedeur Sanders, the social media influencer. And they haven't looked. But the numbers, William, the numbers, Joe Dudek, the greatest running back in college history. Who? That's right, Joe Dudek. Y'all don't know who he is. Ended up, I think it was the Broncos that gave him a shot. Could never make it past the practice squad if he even got onto the practice squad. So Tucker, he kind of suggested that this reflected a pattern of Sanders doing things. He was being politically, quote, non-traditionally. And what he was saying is, look, Sanders doing whatever he wants. He doesn't care about us, doesn't care about anybody, only cares about the Sanders brand. That's what he was saying between the lines. So then again, the poor interview performance came out Monday. A coach described Sanders' formal interview as, quote, the worst, labeling him as, quote, entitled. And look, pre-draft meetings, again, to validate the CBS Sports reporter, what's his name, Jonathan Jones, this coach was pretty much stating what Jones was saying. Disinterested, especially, I guess, a lot came from the Giants meeting. And it damaged his stock. Yeah. Somebody came out and said that a player or an analyst just today, I can't remember saying that the NFL did him wrong. They cost him $50 million. No, Shedeur Sanders and Deion Sanders cost themselves $50 million. The NFL is going to draft you if they believe that quarterback's a franchise quarterback. They're not going to let you slide. It's that simple. What about Tom Brady? Yeah, mistakes are made. Look, they only get about 40% right in the first round. So look, Shedeur has an opportunity to prove himself. But at the end of the day, more and more stories are coming out about his unprofessionalism, his arrogance, his skipped obligations, his disinterested demeanor. All of that's coming out. It's not one source. Excuse me. It's not one source. So what about Quinn Ewers? Well, the hypocrisy here is Quinn Ewers obviously selected, well, not obviously, but he was selected by the Dolphins with the 241st pick in the 7th round, 15th pick of the 7th round, final round. You didn't hear any outcry, but this is what his agent, Ron Slavin, found out. Obviously, Ewers was hurt by the slide. I'll be honest. Maybe neither player should have come out. Maybe Shedeur should have stuck around for another year at Colorado. And for sure, I thought for sure Quinn Ewers should have portaled out, gone to another team that he would have benefited with an extra year there, building his resume up, going to an offense that suited him where he wouldn't have to look over his shoulder, put himself in the best position possible. But he didn't. So Shedeur, I guess I could see with Deion, the PR machine. But Ewers, I'm like, you should have stayed in. He was inconsistent, had a shoulder injury, I guess, last year. Lots of factors. But the primary reason is that Slavin, his agent, said he told ESPN's Todd Archer, who in my previous lifetime with the company I previously owned, he used to do a little bit of reporting for us, that, quote, they thought he was a third or fourth round pick, but too big of a name to be a clipboard holder. Rick Meyer was like in the top 2 or 3 or 6 tops. He was a high pick, ended up being a clipboard holder. A lot of big names have become clipboard holders because they don't pan out, but you can't pass that checkup. Chase Daniels, $40 million as a clipboard holder. He earned over his career. It's like you're not going to get paid what you can earn in the NFL in the civilian world. It's just that simple. So that I agree with Slavin, the agent, quote, which I think is chicken bleep, unquote. And obviously fill in the bleep for what word. But there's no outrage. No, damn it, they did. Ewers wrong, man. What's up with that, man? Because he's not the social media influencer Shedeur is. Look, I'm trying to be real. I don't play sides. I look at the facts, I look at the data, and I call it like I see it. Lots of hypocrisy there. But at the end of the day, nobody cares about Ewers. He didn't have the PR machine that Shedeur's Shedeur's daddy was or is. And that's what that boils down to. So I am probably making a mountain out of a molehill, but it's a great example of the hypocrisy. Not one article, yeah, they did this kid wrong. Not one ESPN analyst, they did this kid wrong. I didn't see Kuiper. See, these people are so in want to be held in a positive mindset, to have Deion hold him in a positive mindset. They're just going overboard with the love for Shedeur. Based on what I've read, based on what I've seen, I got to be honest, I don't see Shedeur being the next coming, as they say. But that's just what I read. I mean, look at Tom Brady, Dan Marino, Lamar Jackson. So look at those players that have come out and done well despite being a lower draft stats. Brock Purdy. Shedeur should look at Brock Purdy. I'm sure Quinn Ewers is looking at himself as the next Brock Purdy because he will get some playing time. I mean, let's be honest. Tua shouldn't be in the league at this point. I mean, he's going to get hit again, and he's going to go out. It's just that simple. But the point is Shedeur has an opportunity to prove everybody wrong. Ewers has an opportunity to prove everybody wrong. And we'll see how all this works out. I believe Sanders' draft slide, based off the reports, was driven because of his arrogance, his unprofessionalism, and it was made worse with having Deion as a PR daddy. Deion was literally his sugar daddy, doing all this work, trying to, he overhyped him. And then combine that with negative personality traits in terms of his head was so big it couldn't fit through a door. Hopefully, this has humbled him. Because let's be honest, everybody, we get tribalistic. I just look at Shedeur. I'm like, okay, Deion kept his head on straight. Wasn't involved in any bad negative things. So he got humbled. He's a good kid. Now he needs I assume he's a good kid. He was raised by Deion. Deion kept him in his place. And that's what I found ironic. Deion would humble his kids on X at times. So it was a little surprising to see such a kid's own bravado go to his head. But that's partially because of Deion. But if he was humbled by this, he can turn out pretty good if he has the talent. Let's move on. Henry Ruggs, potential NFL comeback from prison. So, for those of you who do not remember, Henry Ruggs, former Las Vegas Raiders wide receiver, I think he was drafted number 12 overall a few years ago. He's in prison, but he's training in prison for a potential NFL comeback. And he's in prison for causing a fatal DUI crash. So Josh Jacobs, one of his former teammates, he sits there and says that Ruggs is being positive, has a positive mindset, and he's looking for a second chance. So let me remind you what happened. So it was November 2nd, 2021. A day that will live in infamy in his mind. Henry Ruggs III, then a Raiders wide receiver, caused a fatal DUI crash, killed a 23-year-old woman named Tina Tinter and the dog. America has a love for dogs, so that just compounded it, as silly as it sounds. He injured himself and his girlfriend. Drafted 12th overall in 2020. He's serving a prison sentence so far over 3 years for the crash. So the Tinter family has sued. Now, I looked deep for information, and I could not find anything on the lawsuit being settled or anything of that nature. But they're suing because, Ruggs was driving at 156 miles per hour, blood alcohol content of 0.16, double the legal limit. So I don't know how that stands. And I bring that up for a reason. I'll tell you here in a second. But Josh Jacobs, we found all this stuff out about Ruggs and his training because Josh Jacobs, want to give some credit where it's due here, was on a podcast called The Pivot Podcast. And that's where he talked about Ruggs being optimistic, stating, hearing him talk and how he's remained positive and he's actively training. And he says the prison lets him train. And that tends to happen. Once again, when people know who you are as a star athlete, man, you're given the world. You're never told no. Look, they're giving him special treatment in prison probably to train how he can. And, good for him. So why? Well, simple. What's his name? Leonard Little, I believe was his name. Like 1998. Killed a woman in a fatal DUI crash. I think he got like 3 months. But with the condition with the out-of-court settlement, he was literally cutting the family a check with his every salary. So he was able to pay that back. And look, there's no justice for somebody who dies like that. Even here's what I always like to say: well, there should be justice. Guy should be killed himself or should be in prison. No, that still's not going to bring her back. So I thought that was a win-win. The family of the woman was at least financially compensated. Granted, there is no true justice, but I think a situation like that will happen here if that lawsuit has not been resolved. And in fact, if it has not, the family may go to bat for him and say, yeah, he's going to pay restitution. They probably have a charity or something, or they'll take the money themselves, et cetera, et cetera. So this is one of those scenarios we're going to wait and see because an NFL team may not want to give him the opportunity. All right. Oh, Tyreek. Tyreek Hill faces scrutiny after wife's emergency court filing. So Tyreek Hill is once again embroiled in controversy. His wife, Kita Vaccaro Hill, she filed an emergency court petition alleging threatening and abusive behavior. This is not new towards Tyreek Hill. He has a history of off-the-field issues. So this happened last month. There's so many stories in the queue with a once-a-week show. I finally get to this one. But Kita Vaccaro Hill's mother, her name is Alicia Vaccaro. She called Sunny Isles Beach Police. And she said, hey, come on down to my daughter's residence. And that prompted Kita to file an emergency family court petition. And the petition alleges that Hill, he's threatening, violent, abusive, and they all feel unsafe. And he was all this towards Kita, the mother, and a 4.5-month-old daughter. Now, let me remind you of something. Here's an ugly truth. When you're never told no, it's hard for you to accept certain things. I did a paper back in the 90s. And obviously, that was 25 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, and things have changed. But at the time, 50% of ex-NFL players either wound up financially bankrupt and or domestic abuse charges of sorts. Some of them going to prison, some of them in probation, et cetera, et cetera. Some of them paying out money, divorcing, et cetera. But 50% of them involved in domestic violence. During my research, retired players and agents told me, William, when you're never told no, from the moment you're a child and you're treated as special, bad things get covered up, you're never told no, and players struggle in the family home. They struggle dealing with private life, especially after they retire. I can't remember. There's a video of ex-running back, I want to say for the Eagles, I can't remember his name, viciously beating his wife on camera. One of the baby cams caught it. I was like, oh. And so it is a problem. The transitioning from the stadium, the gladiatorial world, being loved and adored, to you're just an average Joe. Nobody recognizes you without the uniform. That's a tough transition. I guess a similar analogy would be a combat veteran trying to adjust to life. It's I was like I remember when I went home to visit after the military, every other word was a 4-letter word, a curse word of sorts. And my dad, who was like that, looked at me like, what the hell? you know yeah, so it's certain ways get instilled in you, and it's a hard transition. So again, the petition alleges Hill was threatening, violent, abusive, and the family members felt unsafe. And it claims that Hill is using the child to coerce and control the mother. And he's moved out of the marital home, but refuses to grant Keita, the wife, exclusive use. And that's just an abuse of power. That's everything that I just described. That's a form of being abusive. Well, William, this you don't know. I do know this. He has a son, or has a baby with her. I don't know if it's son or not. Has a baby with her, and she's probably dependent on his income. It's power play. In divorce, you talk to a good divorcer, they'll tell you, yeah, this is nothing. This always happens. So Hill's past includes a 2019 battery investigation involving his then 3-year-old son. No charges filed. 2023 assault and battery incident at a Florida marina resolved. And the reason you hear resolved, well, wait a minute, it was resolved. And again, the players, ex-players, and agents and common sense told me, well, they're rich. More? This is your third time. That's what happens. So the NFL and Miami Dolphins have issued no statements or disciplinary actions regarding these allegations. Woo! Disciplinary. God, I'm struggling with that word. Anyway, these are serious allegations against Tyreek, obviously. And look, this is just going to intensify the scrutiny on his conduct. This, once again, puts players overall in a bad light. So it's just terrible. And, then there's the league silence. The league's like, what do we do here? So they want to probably see this play out. And we have to remember this, innocent until proven guilty. But it's kind of hard with somebody like Tyreek and his track record. Let's hope for the best for the family. At the end of the day, it's sad but true. My dad was a breadwinner, and I remember telling him after I became 18, left the house, and him and my mom, 60 years now they've been married, and but every relationship has their ups and downs, and I can't remember what's caused it. I just said, Dad, I don't care about you because you're set. You're earning a buck. It's Mom I'm concerned about. So yeah, I'll make sure she gets taken care of if y'all let her go at it. So I view it from the mother taking care of the child. Tyreek can be Tyreek, but my concern is for that family. But innocent until proven guilty. So let's hope for the best. Okay, here's a funny story. Rob Gronkowski criticizes Abdul Carter's jersey number request. So New York Giants rookie Abdul Carter made the news, not in the best way. He requested to wear Lawrence Taylor's number 56. Y'all may not know who Lawrence Taylor is, one of the greatest linebackers, if not the greatest, to ever wear the number, to ever play the game. And for a young punk, and I don't say that seriously, I say young punk meaning, as a friend of mine once said, I say it cleanly, learn how to wipe your tush before you start telling people or making, or trying to dictate to people. It's like, sack a few quarterbacks, make a few game-changing plays, earn your keep, and don't be worried about taking the legacy away from a retired number and the player. And I think he wanted to be number 11 or something too, and that's been retired too with Phil Simms. They said no. But Rob Gronkowski talked about it on the Julian Edelman podcast, Dudes on Dudes. That's when I first heard about it. And he was saying, quote, was he serious asking for LT's number, unquote? That was my first thought too. Is he serious? Asking? I mean, dude, you're a nobody. Right now he's a nobody. High draft pick, but still a nobody. And Gronkowski said it best, quote, LT is an absolute legend, the best to do it, one of the best defenders of all time, unquote. And everybody knows that this kid, Carter, needs to prove himself. I think it's just hilarious. Really, one of the greatest players to ever suit up. You want his number that's retired? Who are you again? Remind us. That's the type of mentality you take. So let's hope for the best for Carter, that he can create his own destiny, his own legend, and then retire the number he eventually winds up with. So here's a story that's been percolating for a while. Ravens released Justin Tucker amid misconduct allegations. So the Ravens released veteran kicker Justin Tucker, one of the most accurate kickers in the league. He had a down year, had a bad year last year. And they're saying it's a football decision. No, it's because of all this. They can say whatever the hell they want. We know what it's about. And he's facing allegations of sexual misconduct from multiple massage therapists. Now, my issue with this is his lawyer has presented so much counter evidence that I'm like, there's got to be one lawyer here getting all these women for the big scam. Hey, it was done with Watson. What makes this situation different is Watson, they were all individual, women who didn't know one another. He was on the sly, on the down low, being sneaky. Tucker kept going back to the same place, same women, talking to the owners. I mean, Tucker's like this guy who's a do-gooder, and everything he doesn't like. So this came out of left field. So the timing of this is obvious. This is the Ravens. What's a football decision? You damn lie. And I hope if he's deemed as clean of these charges, which I expect he will be, because he says, she said, there's no proof. They have no video, no nothing. And even the owners of these institutions or these masseuse organization companies, they're saying, no, it's a great guy. In fact, the women loved him. They thought, hey, great, come on back. So something is fishier than the woman off the corner of El Cajon Boulevard. If you're in San Diego, you know what I mean. Eric DeCosta should just be ashamed of himself. Football decision. And he actually thinks we're going to believe that. What a loser. So 16. Well, they're 16. Yeah, so what? You get one lawyer? Look at Busby. He's got, out of all those 40, 50, 60, there's a dozen there that are just flat out lying and have been caught on it. But this is today's world. So there's 16 massage therapists from 8 Baltimore area spas. And this spans from 2012 to 2016, and it comes out in 2024, 8 years later. She says, one therapist says that Tucker repeatedly exposed himself. 2013, yet she never said or did anything. Especially after the Deshaun Watson stuff came out. You would think they would have come out immediately. Hey, I got my own story here to tell. So no, I'm sorry. I'm not a fan of the Me Too movement. The Me Too movement, a woman says something, no proof, the man's life destroyed. If show us the proof. Well, they don't like to talk about it. And so what? I know that sounds callous, but just because they're not willing to come forward when they need to, decades later at times, you want to blame the guy and have us take your word. No, that's not how it works. His legal team, led by Joe Terry, he has provided sworn declarations from former Ritz-Carlton spa owners disputing all these claims, tax documents showing Tucker's continued spa visits post-incidents with no issues. There's also an email from an accuser thanking Tucker for the membership to the OG Salon, contradicting her claims. Well, she was scared. No, if she's scared, she's not going to send an email. She's not going to say nothing. Logic would dictate. So, yeah, I tend to believe Tucker, not her. And the NFL has investigated and talked to the women, and I'm betting the NFL's like, oh dear God, what do we do here? Here's the other thing. If you're a winner, you can sit there and beat on whoever you want to beat on. Big Ben Roethlisberger, Ray Rice. Ray Rice was accused of murder. They were still on top of their game. They weren't tossed to the side. Ray Rice, Kareem Hunt, others, they were tossed to the side. Why? Hey, we can replace you. That's why. That's the world of the NFL. If Tucker, had kept his accuracy, he would have stayed on that roster. And I bet you there's going to be a team that picks him up. I mean, kickers are gold now with the way they change the place kicking rules, and they're gonna create a PR plan. Tucker's lawyer will get involved. Hey, here's the real proof. Yada yada yada. So if there's a team that sucks with the kicker, they're likely to pick him up and deal with the fallout if Tucker can show during, when they bring him in that hey, he still has it. Tough call. I'd say it's 50-50. But I guarantee you, with the Me Too movement dying because of too many false accusations, there could be a chance. Put a gun in my head. I'm going to side with Tucker on this. This woman, 8 years later, a woman who's accusing him now, sending him a thank you letter. You did a good job. No, that's not how it works. All right. Let's move on to transgender and male athletes in women's sports. Ooh, I'm having to scroll down. Scroll down. Ooh. Okay, transgender, the participation of male athletes, that's still a big issue. Of boys participating in girls' sports. Despite Trump creating these executive orders, to try to stop the injuries, to try to stop the one-sided affairs of the natural male dominance, physical wise. This is a fairness and integrity issue. And the people who are pushing this are people whose kids aren't dealing with this. Like I always say, you're okay with Laken Riley getting murdered and raped by an illegal until it happens to your wife, to your daughter. Boy, I wish these people could experience that. Then they probably think twice. The worst of the lot, those who live in ideology, those who sit there and say, we have compassion. No, you don't, you lying sack. It's about winning the argument. That's who you are. That's what you are. And that's what you represent. Disgusting excuses of human beings, all of them. And that's what we're seeing here. I have issues with somebody putting on a dress and a wig and going, I'm a girl. Yeah. So, transgender male sweeps women's swim meet. A transgender male sweeps a woman's swim meet in Texas. So Hugo Caldas, who now goes by Anna, and I looked it up. We don't know if Hugo's transitioned. And look, transitioning, as the left wants to tell you, is not, I'm a woman. Hear me roar. It's like, I'll never forget, I was working out at the gym. You can see this one girl, she's like those pull-ups. I'm on the elliptical watching her. And she stops. Somebody's walking by. Hey, Sheila, how you doing? This is what I heard. Pretty good. Like, Sheila benched me and throw me all over the place. She was roided, Phil. I saw her close the hair on here, the acne, the man. I mean, it's like, come on. But that's a man. That's equivalent of a man, and most of these tend to be pajama boys, but they're still stronger physically. But William, they're taking the testosterone reducer or whatever they call that. Doesn't matter. They still have the arms, hands, muscle structure, bone density of a man. I was watching the Frisbee matchup and I saw the man throw the Frisbee. Woo! Like 20, 30 yards farther than what the woman did. Golf, same thing. Swimming, we saw that. Track and field, we see that. So anyway, Anna Caldas is what Hugo goes by now. We don't know if he's fully when I say transition, I'm talking about snip. Whether you're becoming a man, whether you're becoming a woman. So we don't know if Hugo's done that. Unlikely that he has. So Hugo won first place in 5 events. 50-yard freestyle, 100-yard freestyle, 50-yard breaststroke, 100-yard breaststroke, and 100-yard individual medley. In 3 of the races, he finished more than 3 seconds ahead of the ladies. Now, in competition, that's like a mile apart. Significant performance gap. And it was governed by the U.S. Master Swimming Rules. The Independent Council on Women's Sports, they sent a letter during the event stating, quote, there is no length of time during which testosterone suppression eliminates male advantage, unquote. So true. And Riley Gaines posted on X that this was like a South Park episode. And I guess in the South Park episode, it was 2019 South Park episode called Bored Girls, and the male character named Heather. Hey, how you doing, Heather? Pretty good, pretty good. Heather dominated women's sports. So that she was drawing parallels to that. So Hugo swam for the Ohio Splash Team as which is a homosexual male swimming club. I would not get in the water. That's an inside joke. Not on me, but just I shouldn't have said it. Okay, so the San Antonio swim meet is once again exposes the unfair edge male athletes. He not only won, he dominated everything. Look, this sweep underscores an urgent need to prioritize biological fairness in sports. And why these leftists don't want that, I don't know. And I'm not done. Washington faces a federal probe for forcing transgender policies that undermine girls' sports and parental rights. So this was a doozy. So the U.S. Department of Education's Office for Civil Rights, OCR, in conjunction with the DOJ, through the Title IX Special Investigations Team, Title IX SIT. So you got the OCR, the DOJ, the SIT. They all launched an investigation into the Washington. I'm not done. Into the Washington Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction, the OSPI. So we have the OCR, DOJ, SIT versus the OSPI. Got that? Just look at it this way: the government and various agencies within the government are targeting a department that caused the shots in Washington. So there's allegations that the department in Washington State is mandating policies that allow male athletes to simply say, I feel like I'm Carol today. Hey, I'm going to go swim. Oh, Carol, swim. So as soon as they say that, okay, come on down, Carol. Thank you. And Carol's competing in girls' sports and has access to female-only facilities like bathrooms and locker rooms. And for the record, Will Thomas, aka Leah Thomas, had not transitioned. So he's in the locker room, whoosh, 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 whoosh. Hey ladies, how you doing? With the hair, he's letting everything flow in the wind. Yeah, that would have been seen as assault at one time. Or not assault, but indecent exposure at one time. Not anymore. As long as you go, I'm a woman. So there was a specific incident that involved a male athlete because of the mandate named Alex. That was his male name, where he won the girls' 400-meter race, high school. And he displaced the female competitors, obviously, from the podium. Now, these girls practice their whole lives for this moment. And what happens? They're cheated. So this investigation also examined violations of the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, FERPA, and the Protection of Pupil Rights Amendment, PPRA. So two acts that were also violated because of policies that told teachers to withhold the student's gender identity from the parents. Again, taking the role of parenting away from the parents. I'm telling you, a parent is going to kill a teacher or coach or something like that. It will happen here if this does not change. And it's going to happen from an immigrant family, probably from the Middle East, where they don't believe in this nonsense. You go spew that gay nonsense in the Middle East. And yes, it's true. They'll throw your hash from the roof, or Latino, or from an immigrant family that is more church going and more God-fearing than the average American. So this department, the OSPI, it's accused of requiring schools to conceal changes in the student's gender identity from parents, and that breaches FERPA, which ensures parental access. So in essence, the school is saying, no, you will not tell them, but they're violating an act, which I would assume is law, which allows parents to have access to educational records, and another act which mandates parental notification and opt-out rights. So the Supreme Court is actually dealing with the Maryland case and talking about opt-out rights, and it's likely going to go down because the school is not allowing the family to opt out. And here's the problem. Even when they say, yeah, you can opt out, you can request it, and they deny them, especially if they're Christian, of religious beliefs. Oh, they love saying no to that. So that's probably going to go down, which will affect this too, which means the lawsuit will come from the parent and the taxpayers are going to pay because that's who's paying the school's bills. So Linda McMahon, the Department of Education, has stepped in with a press release. And so that's moving forward. And she warned that these actions, if confirmed, constitute clear violations of federal law. Look, the Trump administration has righteously arrested a judge who was trying to help an illegal alien who was in jail for beating people and various other, including sexual with a minor, sex with a minor, I believe. This judge was helping him escape. And, I just talked about the Me Too movement. Some women, why'd they wait so long? Well, it's hard for women. The woman in this case was in the court that convinced her, please come testify, we'll get rid of him. And the judge says, screw you, woman, I don't care about you. Helping him escape. She was righteously arrested. I would not put it past. These people are breaking this law, they get arrested. At this point, it takes fight. You have to fight fire with fire. And that's the only way others will learn. Well, hey, look, Joe, we want you to sit there and not tell the teacher. Joe's going to go, what? No, go jump in the lake. I just saw Beth head on into prison. Then there's a pronoun policy with additional concerns. It also addressed a mandate that schools avoid asking students or staff about their pronouns. And again, hiding that from the parents. Trump's executive order signed in January reinforces Title IX's focus on biological sex. When Title IX was created, it was created to protect women in sports, as in you're born a woman. But just like the civil rights, every other group comes and bastardizes it for their own use. Right now, my civil rights are being violated because I think this monitor and this desk, it's all based off racial hatred towards me. I mean, we have nonsense like that. Somebody said, there's a group that said peanut butter and jelly was racist. I mean, the nonsense is just never ending here. And it extended to Title IX, protecting biologically born women, though it didn't say that, it was always assumed. Then transgenders. Then Biden changed it to include transgenders. Thank God the court struck that down. Look, if I went from William to Wilma, hey, William, how you feeling? Don't call me William, I'm Wilma. I'm enrolling in college for track and field. At my age, I still beat the girls. Well, once I lose 40 pounds and get back in shape. So the OCR and DOJ demanded that the OSPI, I love doing that. So the government demanded that the school provide evidence of compliance with Title IX, as well as the other acts. And I don't know if that was or wasn't done yet. I am looking into that, but we should know if they did or not here when I update you on this story. So this federal investigation, like the rest of them, underscores what has become a critical effort to restore Title IX's protections and to protect girls in sports. I don't need Alex claiming to be Alexa and going, come on, girls, let's go. Still not done. Maine defies Title IX, lets male win a girls' track meet amid a lawsuit. So this happened last week. A male athlete identifying as a girl won 2 girls' track events, the 800-meter and 1,600-meter races. It wasn't even close. Wasn't even close. This amid the lawsuit. And I hope they lose, but it's just not stopping. It's just not stopping. Maine has refused to alter its policies for fairness to women. They're okay with men dominating female sports. And you feminists out there who support this, you are the worst betrayers of feminism. You're saying as a woman, I think it's okay for men to dress as a woman and beat up girls, to compete against girls, to dominate against girls. This Maine scenario, it underscores a reckless disregard for fairness. It's like, come on, man. So the lawsuit does represent what I see as a critical step towards what we must do. And that is, again, restore equity for female athletes, restore fairness for female athletes, protect the woman. Not done. This is all in the last month. Oregon girls forfeit high jump to protest male competitor. God bless you, girls. So this was led by Sophia Carpenter. She forfeited a high jump competition at the Therapeutic Associates Chelhalem Classic in Oregon. Boy, the boy needs some therapy thinking he's a girl. So these girls refuse to compete against the male athlete. And the high school is Ida B. Wells High School in Portland. Am I shocked it's Portland? So this boy just destroyed the competition. But when he competed as a boy, he finished last in the boys' junior varsity competition in 2023. Now, Sophia Carpenter she told Outkick.com that she originally planned to compete, but when she saw the other girls, strength in numbers, ladies, strength in numbers, it gave her hope. It gave her hope. So they're hoping that Trump takes notice of this, and I'm sure somebody will take notice of this. And there's a separate investigation as well. So to you, Sophia Carpenter, I raise my glass. And to your peers. This protest, it made national news. It amplifies the call for a national intervention to protect female athletes. Now let's go to the granddaddy of them all. Nike faces scrutiny for alleged transgender youth experimentation. Nike is accused of a 5-year study to examine how puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones affect athletic performance. Why? Well, to transgender identify youth. It's aiming to determine if early medical transition eliminates male biological advantages in girls' sports. Translation, let's give them the puberty blockers as young as the adult says, they say they're a girl. And then they convince the kid you're a girl if it's a boy, or a boy if it's a girl. Because honestly, studies have shown parents influence. That's what happens in a lot of these cases. So they've been doing a study was done that did this. These lives are destroyed. I guarantee you there's going to be suicides. There's going to be lawsuits. These kids not being able to speak for themselves, have representatives for themselves, are going to end up suing Nike if they were involved, because they're going to realize, what? I can't go back. My ovaries are destroyed. My sperm, I don't have a wee-wee anymore. I got a little stub. It's going to go bad. It's going to go south. So this study was led by Dr. Catherine Ackerman at Boston Children's Hospital, which is taking kids from parents. They're a vile excuse for an institution. And, of course, Harvard Medical School. Young kids as young as 12, right when they're starting. Some of them already probably hitting puberty. This is beyond ethical concerns. The Tuskegee Airmen come to mind immediately, experimenting on them. These kids don't have a guardian if these people are letting them do this to them. These are irreversible experiments being done on them. Blair Fleming. In 2023, it was confirmed, Ackerman confirmed in 2023 that Nike provided funding, though Nike has not publicly confirmed this, so we don't know if it's true or not. Nike's response, I guess they went to Outkick and said spokesperson supported, quote, inclusive, unquote, sports policies, while an unnamed executive claimed the study, quote, was never initialized, unquote, and, quote, is not moving forward, unquote. I hope that's true. But if not, I think the government needs to look at bringing charges. This is irreversible procedures, the puberty blockers. Look, when puberty blockers first came out, I got so angry at people I know because they were hiding across the facade where there's no study. I'm like, are you lying? Common sense tells you puberty only happens during a certain period. Once that period is done, boom, you're done. And if they're giving you puberty blockers during that period, even coming out puberty blockers, you're not going to start growing because you miss your window. That's how growing works. Common sense alone. And sure enough, the studies came out. Yeah, man, puberty blockers are going to mess you up. And then I hate it when those who are pushing it or supporting it or using it to hide behind as an excuse for something down the middle play dumb. I'm like, again, if it's a studly guy and it's his son, all of a sudden doesn't have a wanker or has a button for a wanker, or a girl doesn't have breasts or the ability to grow breasts anymore, or her eggs are destroyed. If it happened to your family, then you'd be all over it. But no, as long as it's somebody else's kid, you're okay. So we're still waiting to hear about this. We don't know there was control groups or placebo groups, but it's implied all participants were on puberty blockers or hormones as part of gender-affirming care. Now, we don't know anything about the participant recruitment. Did they go after poor families who needed the money? Did they go after blacks, whites, Latinos? Did they go after leftists? They're the ones who seem to be most pro this. But odds are families who needed the money. And in all this sourcing, there is no information if there was informed consent or parental involvement. Dr. Joanna Harper, who's a transgender researcher, was involved. So bias was thrown out the window. She's looking for results. Yeah, pump them in. Oh, we're not seeing results. Pump them in, more. But they may die. That is the risk we must take. Oh, I'm sorry. That was the Germans experimenting, or Japan experimenting. This is disgusting and vile. And a 2025 HHS review, unbiased, I might add, came out saying that puberty blockers carry, quote, significant risk, unquote, with, quote, very weak evidence of benefit, unquote. We all knew this just through common sense. Thank God, Congress. I'd like government to stay out of stuff, but sometimes we have government because too many times the inmates are running an asylum, as in this case. And luckily, Representative Burgess Owens, a Republican out of Utah, demanded Nike clarify its role, posting on X, quote, if Nike funded experiments on young children to justify putting boys in girls' sports, the American people deserve answers. If this is true, it's not just wrong, it's pure evil. Oh, look at that, Sir Owens. He compared the study to the Tuskegee experiment. And I agree with him. It is child abuse. And I'm with him in accusing Nike of supporting, quote, sterilizing, unquote, and, quote, stunting growth, unquote, in children. Because that's what happens. Maybe Nike didn't do anything per what they're trying to say. We'll find out. Senator Marsha Blackburn and Senator Tommy Tuberville also condemned Nike. And here's the problem. This is at 80-20, 90-20. America doesn't want it. The haters, the authoritarians, the fascists, the communists, the progressives, the Democrats, the leftists, whatever you want to call them, they all want it. This needs to be a major front and center campaign issue. Because if we can take the House and the Senate by enough margins, we can control everything. And we need to rectify this country. The problem is you always want balance down the road because every time one party's in power too long, they screw it up. Oh, man. So Nike's alleged funding of a study experimenting with puberty blockers on children is meant to justify males and girls' sports. Obviously, it's saying it raises ethical alarms. It is putting it mildly. It raises good versus evil. Owens call for transparency. Bro, bring these people in and we need to charge them if they're found guilty and this happened. And we need to find out what happened to those kids specifically. There will be more to come on this story. There you have it. Look, people, I've got the rude rundown to do still, but I want you to give me your comments or give me your thoughts in the comments section. Lots of stories. Justin Tucker, Shedeur Sanders, the transgender issue, specifically this Nike issue. It's all sad. Abdul Carter. I mean, we all know where we stand on that. I'm looking at my notes here real. Tyreek Hill. I mean, at what point does Tyreek Hill wake up? Should Henry Ruggs have another opportunity? Can Shedeur Sanders or Quinn Ewers make it as starters or have a role in the league as a backup? Let me know in the comments. All right, let's get down to the final segment, which is the rude rundown. And that's where I take topics or stories from around the nation and just briefly talk on them, give you the lowdown. Some are political, some are not. The first one, Greg Popovich steps away from coaching to become Spurs president. Look, phenomenal coach, legendary coach, 29 seasons as the coach of the San Antonio Spurs, 26 playoff appearances over 22 years. Huh? Oh. I'm like, whoa, what the hell did I put in my notes? 26 playoff appearances, including 22 consecutive years, 5 championships. He's leaving because of health challenges, including a stroke, and he's going to be team president. Now, the truth, the ugly truth. Popovich is a vile, mean, evil human being. He wishes death on those who disagree with him politically. He is okay with the Uyghurs in China being used as slave labor, creating NBA gear. He won't talk about it, but he'll condemn us all to hell. I got news for you, Greg. When you are finally called, you're going to be like, damn, it's pretty warm in here, people. Where am I? Yeah, that's how vile a human being you are. Give him his dues. Legendary coach, one of the worst excuses for a human being you will ever find. El Jefe. And using that Native American, maybe some Shascalpia. Bill Belichick. This one came from the New York Times. Yeah. Look, people. The Athletic, I'm a hardcore conservative. The New York Times is far left, but they bought out the Athletic. It's the best source for news, better than ESPN, Fox, anywhere you will find. Old school, lots of articles, great podcasts, great analysis. A lot of those reporters there, I actually used to be on the dole for me when I had my previous company on the football side. But they've got the Athletics worth the money. Anyway, this one came via the New York Times, and I'm assuming, yes, it is the Athletic. So Bill Belichick's plan. See, I did a short on this saying the NCAA shot Bill Belichick's planned Hard Knocks feature. Turns out many are saying it was because of Jordan Hudson's. That's a 48-year-old difference in age girlfriend he has. Hudson identifies herself as the chief operating officer of Belichick Productions. And supposedly she demanded heavy involvement in the project. And that led to NFL Films saying, no mas, we're done here. And the deal collapsed just before a public announcement. UNC was excited. Belichick was excited. But Jordan wanted too much say. If this is all true, she probably wanted to say as in having say in the final cuts at certain things. And he probably said, nope. Now, for you that may not know, Belichick's girlfriend's like 24 or something. He's like in his mid-70s. Hudson's 24 years old. And she's become his de facto agent, for lack of a better word. And she's wormed her way in a lot of things. So it seems like she's the one who destroyed or ended this. Would have been cool. Would have been great for UNC. She may have gotten him fired. So if he had done Hard Knocks, gotten great coverage, gotten more recruitments, the transfer portal would have been great, maybe regardless of how the season goes. But now without that, it kind of hurts if he sucks his first year. And if she brings too much drama, he sucks his first year, you're out of there. Look, he's old. He's set in his ways. What you see in your first season in UNC is what you're going to get for the rest of his tenure. He won't get better. Paige Bueckers' white privilege remarks stirs WNBA debate. Same old, same old. Paige Bueckers, the WNBA's #1 draft pick, came out in Time magazine interview. I got some white privilege. What white privilege means is you were given everything. You didn't earn it because you're white. You were given it, which is so untrue. What Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers are saying, I didn't earn any of this. It was given to me. It's such utter nonsense, and it's hurting them. Look, the WNBA has lost money every year for 26 years. It lost $40 million last year, despite the height Caitlin Clark took it to. That's probably peak height. They're going to keep losing money. I tried watching it. It's just ugly. I don't watch the NBA anymore because the Portland Trailblazers, LA Lakers fix 2 straight years. The Portland Trailblazers were a better team, and at the end of the stretch, they got into Game 7 because the refs gave it to them earlier in the series. And at the end of the day, they won the series, both of them, because of the refs. No ifs, ands, or buts. We all know it. That's when I stopped watching. So because I still cover sports, I do keep an eye on it. And the NBA's gotten ugly. And if you think the NBA is ugly, the WNBA is even worse. So, Paige, keep destroying the league. Now, staying with the NBA, got to give Angel Reese's mother, whose name is Angel Reese. God, how vain can you get? I mean, with boys, it's because of hereditary. There's Junior the third, etc. But her name is Angel Reese. What's your name? Angel Reese. Angel, hey, hey. Reese, hey, hey. It's just something odd, I guess, from a woman. Yeah, call me old school. It just seems odd. But regardless, she had the greatest crackback, but at the end, it kind of falls short because the past is the past. Nobody cares about Magic and Bird in college. It's like their legacy's the pros. Same thing with WNBA. So Angel Reese's mother she got kind of irked because the main thrust of the story is, first she pointed to the rafters to show, hey, y'all can't be dogging on my daughter. Look at the rafters here in the LSU. That's right, national championship, maybe. Look at the rafters over there at Iowa. Up. That's right. There's nothing in rafters. It's good. Fair take. But here's why she's so angry. So Clark had an exhibition game with the Indiana Fever at Carver Hawkeye Arena. Angel Reese had hers at LSU at Pete Maravich Coliseum or Arena. And Clark's game sold out in 45 minutes, roughly 16,000 fans. Reese's game, 6,400 fans in a 15,000 seat venue. Validating nobody's watching you, Angel. You have your little set of fans, but people are watching the WNBA because of Caitlin, not you. And that burns her up. But here's where it gets even worse. The ticket resale prices for Clark's game soared into the hundreds. $440 was the average, I guess. But some tickets went as high as $1,800. Others, that was noted, it came out in articles, as high as $2,400. Imagine that. Nobody's watching because of you, Angel. And that's what burned her mother up. That's why she pointed to the rafters. Great comeback, but it fell short because nobody cares. All right, let's go to the NIL Collective. Arkansas supports NIL Collective to pursue buyout from transferring players. These NIL deals are being given to players through collectives. That's what they call the people giving the money at each university. They call them collectives. So some players are transferring. They've been paid money. They haven't played it down in some cases, and they're just moving on. And one collective in Arkansas said, oh, hold on, bro. Oh, give me my money back, man. Give me my money back. And there's big time support from the fans to do this. And the Arkansas AD Hunter Yurachek, the university, supports it too. The university don't have anything to do with this. It's all done by the NIL collectives. And this will happen because what's happening in these players, they're just looking for the next big gig. Oh, you're going to pay me $4 million for my 4 years here? Oh, I just collected $2 million after 2 years, but they're offering me another $4 million for 2 years over there. I'm dumping you. I'm going. So collective saying, no, you're going to give us our money back that we paid you. And some of these contracts are going to be ironclad. No, you can't leave. And what's going to happen, you don't screw with a booster. They say, okay, you're not going to leave. You sit over there and quit the team, do what you want, but then you're not going to get a dime, but you're not going to go over there. And that's needed. It's a quid pro quo. And they're abusing that because it's a wild, wild west right now. So I guess there's a receiver and a quarterback, the brother of the Tennessee quarterback. I always screw up his name. Imaleuva, something like that, But I am all for this. It needs to end. All right, let's get back to the race game. Jemele Hill blames racism and ESPN for her career setbacks. That's a pot calling the kettle black. Considering Jemele Hill's the one who got the ball rolling at ESPN on the race game. I mean, she's saying that ESPN's a problem here and hurt her career. Look, Bomani Jones had 3 shots at trying to get a show off the ground. It was dead on arrival all 3 times. Then when he went elsewhere, it was dead on arrival. People don't want to hear about the race game. They don't want to watch TV and have race thrown in your face. So Jemele Hill, she says, my career struggles. No, they're not because I'm a racist. No, they're not because I said it's okay for African Americans to be racist towards Asians? It's not because I said that. It's not because I believe that. Jemele Hill's a flat out racist. We have to stamp out white racism, black racism, Asian racism, Latino racism, all racism. For those of you who lie to yourselves and lie to the others and say, no, I'm a minority, I can't be racist. Yeah, you can. Race is hate and it's taught. Enough with that nonsense. Take that nonsense and go your own way. Anyway, she says her career struggles are due to racism and ESPN's alleged efforts to de-blackify its programming. They were blackifying the program because they thought their demographics would work. I know about this. I was in that industry. So they went with the numbers, and Sports SC6, as they called it, Sports Center at 6 p.m. She hosted it with Michael Smith. It was canceled in 2018 because of record low ratings in the 6 p.m. slot. Then she calls President Trump a white supremacist. She played the race card. She de-blackified herself. The ratings weren't there. They moved on. So they hear this nonsense. It's just that one of the greatest ESPN analysts was Stu. We all loved Stu. He was black. We didn't care. We just loved how Stu delivered news and how we could relate to him. We didn't care about his color. He was old lovable Stu. Rest in peace, Stu. She claims former ESPN executive Norby Williamson, who Pat McAfee, a white guy, eventually got Norby fired there, intentionally sidelined black voices. Victimology. I left the Democrat Party, or as we who have left it, who are deemed minorities by society, the Democrat plantation, because we learned how to think for ourselves. We saw the truth. We saw the data. They teach you a narrative that it's not. I was told, yeah, William, you got a lot going against you. I'm like, really? Do I? They wanted my vote. They put my Latino before me being American first. That was back when I was in college. I left I didn't even register. I was my big registration day. Didn't register. Just walked away. That's when I realized, oh my God, I'm a Republican. I didn't realize it wasn't that I was a Republican. I was a conservative. And as someone who comes from a very mixed family throughout the spectrum of the tentacles of the Del Pilar clan and Dominguez clan that reaches out everywhere, I've got a what's this saying? I've got a dog in this fight. And I will always push back against black, white, Asian. There's a lot of Asian racism out there too. There's a lot I experienced that I saw. Anyway, Jemele Hill has nobody to blame but herself. Charlie Dixon leaves Fox Sports following sexual misconduct allegations. So the beautiful Joy Taylor, who's built like a brick house, as the Commodores once said, she's a brick house. Song from the 70s. Great song. Anyway, Charlie Dixon, who Joy Taylor purposely slept with to work her way up to the top per the allegations, he was fired. Joy Taylor still has her job. Joy Taylor's about as terrible analyst. I mean, she's dumb as rock. I mean, in my opinion, she got her job because her brother, Jason Taylor, at the time, opened the doors for her. And there's ex-people from Fox that have alluded to as such in terms of her qualifications. Anyway, she was sleeping with Dixon, supposedly, allegedly, and Fox is done with him. And they're firing him, after months of investigation, supposedly, is what I would assume. But the lawsuit that Fox is facing and Dixon is facing stems from a former hairstylist, Nusheen Faraji, who my understanding is she's kind of the one who was left out of the code with no gain, no win here. So she said, I'm going to sue them. I got to get something out of this. So she alleges that he groped her in 2017. I don't know if that's true, but unlike the Justin Tucker, this one sounds more realistic. Man in a power position can make careers. But why would he do it with a hairdresser? So that's where I'm not sure on this one. Joy Taylor, yeah, in fact, I believe that. Joy Taylor may have instigated it, but it's not like Charlie was like, no, stay away. He was like, So she alleges that he groped her, claimed that he forcibly kissed her in 2016, and this will lead to departure. And I'm sure he got a fat golden parachute, go away, don't say anything. So he was there for 9 years, and he was the top programming executive. And there's also a policy violation involving his wife's hiring, though Dixon denies the misconduct claims. So what happened there is Fox Sports fired Dixon, we know, but they're saying that part of the reason he was fired for not disclosing that a third-party production company, meaning there's a job or something, so they go out, they may not have enough people or their production company can't do it, so they form it out to a third-party company, and that party had his wife as part of it, so they hired his wife, and he did not tell Fox, which is violating company policy. And that he also paid her to conceal his alleged affairs with Fox Allen. This guy just sounds like a scumbag, doesn't it? We'll find out here soon enough. Talk Pete Rose. Rob Manfred discusses Pete Rose's reinstatement with Donald Trump. So look, I see this happening. Manfred, he's engaged with Donald Trump on the potential reinstatement. Trump is a vocal Rose supporter. He pushed for his Hall of Fame eligibility, which I do too. It's for your baseball play, now you're out the field, because if that was the case, 70% of the Hall of Fame would be out in all the Hall of Fames. I think Manfred's just waiting for the right time. And I hope it happens. But Trump and him talk. Take it for what that's worth. So there's a new tennis rule that is sparking debate, and it's misled in terms of how it's being reported. It's a debate over showering via doping test. So there's a new tennis anti-doping rule that they go up to you, I guess, after a game. Hey, you're up for a piss test, a urinalysis. Come on. Well, I guess some of the players, I want to shower. And the doping agency says, okay, that's fine. We're going to watch you shower. Yeah. Hey, you like the view? And they say, that's wrong. That's wrong. I have my rights. It's overreach. It's not. Because what happens is when you urinate, you're urinating what the most potent of the drug in there in your system. Once you urinate again, you remember it's right after a game. Some of these players may take a drug right before or a few days before, and it may take time to get out of the system. So they want to capture it in that first urinalysis right after the game, the match rather. And if you urinate, the second time you urinate, be less. There's more chance you'll get away with cheating. So my take is simple. They should have just sat there and said, as soon as you're down for the urinalysis, there is no shower. There is no nothing. You will follow the guy. You will urinate. Give him the urinal. You will do a urinalysis test, and that's that. I say, this is nonsense, man. Well, if you shower, we're going to watch it. No, just take that off the table and problem solve. So they're reporting it in full support of the player being able to shower without somebody watching them. Hey, I get that. That's why I would have done it. No, we're not going to watch you. You're going to come here, or you're going to be suspended. Your choice. And the player will go. It's that simple. Much ado about nothing. So Panthers Samson Nakua faces backlash for slapping fan at a UFL game. Let me bring this up to you. You guys have got to see this one. So Michigan Panthers wide receiver Samson Nakua, he faces criticism and a league investigation for, here we go, slapping a fan during a UFL game. Here it is. That guy's career is over, effectively over. The UFL is dying. I checked out the ratings, like 500,000, 400, one game, 300,000. It's nobody watches it. It doesn't even make the news. There's no pub. There's no nothing. It's like watching the volleyball results. You got to go to the actual website because no paper's covering it. I'm sure there's some organizations covering it, maybe ESPN, somebody. I've yet to see one article on it. I'm lying. I've seen some of the ratings articles, but like a handful of articles, nobody cares. And Samson Nakua, he's a brother of Puka. He's an older brother, so this guy doesn't have the talent, or else he would be in the NFL. But he's probably done. His hopes of going to an NFL team are slim to none. More likely slim. This was a 32-27. It doesn't matter who won, who lost. You don't know. You don't care. So some are condemning Nakua's action while others point to fan provocation. No. Because now, fan provocation, wait till you get out of the streets. You had this fan provocation. That's what this leads up to. So no, get the official if the fan is being vulgar, etc., etc. That's how you deal with it. This is the inmates running the asylum with him slapping. He deserves to get suspended, if not outright released. You just don't do that. And that's my show. That's my show, my friends. I guess I'm looking at my notes here. That's a wrap on Points on the Board, episode 119. So we've gone from Shedeur Sanders, learned the hard way, attitude checks matter. From there, we went to the fight for fairness in women's sports. Tonight was all about accountability or lack of it. And whether it's NFL stars who have and must face scrutiny or states defying the will of the people in Title IX, one thing's clear. The scoreboard doesn't lie with the results of what's happening out there. But obviously some standards sure do lie. The standard of fairness in sports, the standards of taking responsibility and accountability. We're living in a mess right now. And we need stronger minds, stronger heads, smarter heads to prevail. And before I go, once again, bookmark grumblingsmedia.com. You can find this podcast, as well as check out the Buzzer Beaters, all basketball, no political talk, and the Blindside Blitz, all football, no political talk, for you guys who really want the sports. But I appreciate you guys who understand sports plays a big part in our culture and how our world and life is shaped because of the stories and the influence it carries. And with that, I am William del Pilar for Points on the Board. And until next week, keep your head on the swivel as the social media fanboys will do their best to take you out.
Hey everybody, this is Big John from Grumblings Media, and I just want to say thank you for watching our content. If you want to support our efforts here at Grumblings Media, just smash the subscribe button right here, totally free, or just go ahead and consume more of our great content. Click either one of these two boxes.